All right, I'm a little hoarse today, so bear with me. I have a cold too, but that didn't help, no. So roll call of school board members, we're all here. Non absent, so 4.0 is to approve the agenda and I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion on the agenda?
The only comment I would have is the four principals have submitted a document for their update here. I shouldn't say I modify, I upload a modified version that CMS gave me. So if you happen to look at something Friday compared to this morning, Joe could maybe speak to what changed, but I just want you, otherwise there have been no changes.
Okay. Okay. All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 5.0 communications and reports. Start with the enrollment update.
So enrollment, if you look at the sheets that are in there, I mean, to the good, we're up 5 students. Now, keep in mind, it's not 5 for the whole year. There's been some adjustment. We were up, I think, 3/8, a 7th, maybe a couple 3rd, and then we lost a 2nd, I think. So compared to last month at this time, it's good, but it's just that, yeah, it's where we're at. So.
Any questions on enrollment? Okay. Department or administration and department head reports.
Perfect. I guess I would first off start with thanking, and this is staff across the board, from teachers to paras to cooks to transportation, and I'm not going to keep naming, for a good year. We got things closed down, and obviously the year's not completely over. I was thanking some of the maintenance stuff in advance because some of their stuff changes now, and it's a busy time. But anyway, finish strong as far as I'm concerned, and we regroup and plan. Not that planning hasn't been going on, but for another year, which will be here, I hate to say it, in a snap of a fingers. So a couple other things. There's a sheet here. MSBA has just sent this. It's kind of a one. Everyone should have a copy. If I got them laid out. If not, I have another 1 or 2. It just has some upcoming trainings and stuff and kind of explanation. So if there's any questions or if you want, and it's just the way MSBA works, if there's something you want to register for, that has to go through our office. It's not me saying that. That's just the way it is. You can't go on and register. So like, I think Matt's doing, is it phase 2?
Phase 2.
Got them registered last week. So if you see something along the way, let me know. And some things are free, some things cost, like they have these different chats and things that are Zooms, works in your schedule and pertains, go for it. So that's that. I believe you got it's an email on a data request. I just wanted to give you a heads up, and it's not the first one you would have seen in my, board report last week. I was replying. It went a step further. The attorneys involved thinks we're just fine. So don't reply. I mean, if you have questions, concerns, whatever, let me know. I can fill you in more, but we're not going to talk about it at this point. But I think we're just fine. But you read it, going after several districts. So anyway, that's that. Going to give you a heads up. I don't plan on sending a board update unless something changes this week. Thursday and Friday, the SOUP MASA, Northwest Service Co-op, they do a training. And so I will go there Thursday and Friday. Superintendent evaluation. We're at that time of year that the board should look at doing something. Len and I have met. If you recall, you set some goals. I don't know if it was in September or when exactly, and we had some steps kind of to work towards those. So what's going to happen is, obviously I shouldn't be involved in the process. So Nancy will take and send you out a form, and you can work with Nancy to get it back in. Some of you are newer than others, but please be honest and constructive, and we'll go through next board meeting. If you're not aware how it works, then is she'll have it compiled, get it back to probably Lynn and I to meet with before, but then we go into closed session at the end of the board meeting, and because the evaluation is technically a private matter, but then when we come out of closed session, the board has to give an update. You got a 2 out of 4, or whatever. We have to have some type of public statement.
Is the
So
evaluation done individually or as a board?
well, it's done, we do it as a group, but you're going to get a sheet and have your own chance to rank
Okay.
and put comments. And then overall, And then it goes back to her and it's private. So I'm just gonna say Amanda won't know, what you ranked. Yet, no one should, I guess, unless you share it with someone. That's the idea. And we talked about maybe it going to Lynn, but then, someone might not, it's probably better just to be, again, if you want to do it on the sheet, some people have put it in a blank envelope and mailed it. If you don't want anyone, it depends on,
How anonymous you want. it
yeah,
to be.
and yeah, so Nancy will take care of it. I mean, if you have other questions on how it's, let me know. I can help facilitate, but obviously I don't want them coming to me. I want them going to her. So it's private. She'll rank them, jockey things up so all the comments aren't in the same order.
We all do it individually and then she like finds the main.
Sure.
Yeah.
And like we had talked, if want a different process, we'll see how it goes, because this was new this year. We can look at a different process going forward, but at least there was something, because it hadn't been done in a while, is my understanding.
Correct.
So look for that, and we'll put a deadline, give you a week, week and a half or something to do it, and get it in and give Nancy some time. Strategic plan is on the agenda to be hopefully approved tonight. I'll be honest, I got nothing from the board, didn't get anything else from the leadership team. Like I say, principals, all the groups have had, runs at it. It's just final critiques. So hope we get somewhere on that. Just to let you know, we had our first round with negotiations for bus drivers. We had another meeting coming up on the 24th. Again, not a whole lot to share other than, it was a good meeting, and they have some requests, and we will respond on the 24th and, see where we go from there. The only other thing I think we need, at least unless you have questions, is our next meeting is the 23rd. Okay, and obviously there was a message that came out today with a new open position that we're going to move as quickly as we can on. And so thinking it's principal position, everyone know what I'm talking about, assuming we can get a candidate in place. The problem is we're not going to get a resignation for that position until Monday, the 23rd is when that board meets. So we're not going to be able to hire on the 23rd, and that concerns us. So I think we need to talk. Do we want to either have a special meeting, or do we want to put our meeting back? We'll get a resignation on the 24th, assuming everything goes, and it will. Do we want to look at moving our meeting back, or how do we want to deal with that? And that's open for conversation. A couple other things, just so you're aware, the plan is to start looking at them on the 11th. We could do interviews somewhere around the 17th, and make it in time for our board meeting. We're also in the process of replacing Ron's position. That'll be coming. We have, at least at this point, a couple, looks like good candidates. And so it's just, we need to have a conversation of how you want to move forward, because we can't wait till, at least I don't think, second week in July to move. We need to.
I'm okay if we have a special meeting.
You
You
want a
want
special meeting?
everything, or do you just want to move the Monday?
It'd be quickest.
Just move
to expedite.
everything.
Bet.
What about like, can we do the 26th, Thursday?
You can do,
Well, don't you wanna do it? I thought we were doing it before the 23rd.
no,
We have to do it after.
their board meets on the night of I think it's the night of the 23rd, so we won't get an actual resignation till 24th. So we'd either have to meet the afternoon, evening of the 24th or later. So, I mean, it's up to the board.
I mean, I guess we could do the 24th too. That doesn't matter to me. 24th or 26th.
Let me look at my.
26.
We can do it any time.
25.
I can't do it the 25th. I mean, we could go at 5. We don't have to wait till 5:30, or we could do 5:30, we can do 6, we can do whatever.
On what day?
26,
Is it 26? Can we just keep it at 5:30?
that works.
Or do you want to
Work-
go in the morning?
A 7 a.m.er? No. Does that work for you, Matt? 26?
Yeah.
Okay. 5:30.
So we'll just move the regular meeting to the 26th. Okay. And other than that, and I don't know if Mr. Lohr, congratulations to some teams moving on and continuing with, we got some, I think like 10 track kids. Do you know? And baseball's still alive, 2 games tomorrow, hopefully. What's that? Isn't it Perm? I could be wrong. Anyway,
They play.
they got to win too, whoever. Okay. So anyway, congrats, and there could be some others, but any questions?
All right, let's go on to principals. Mr. Grassel. Is this your last principal update ever? And you didn't bring treats? Right.
I don't know how you want me to proceed. Do you want me to go through every single piece, or do you want me to highlight
Highlight.
pieces since you've looked
Highlight.
at them?
Yes.
Okay, then you can ask questions. Obviously, if you take a look, so we do fall, spring, or fall, winter, spring testing in Fastbridge. They also do the same kind of tests, or not the same kind of tests, but Orton Gillingham has their process that they go through as well. Just some things that stick out is the average growth, you know, for every grade is obviously a plus, which is good. Kindergarten in the early reading, the average score was plus 29. That's a huge piece. One thing that has been a positive this year is the fall benchmark to spring benchmark was an increase. In the last 5 years, that number has decreased. So that we're starting to see some of the effects of Orton. The one thing that is interesting in kindergarten is letter sounds. So we had 2 students that recognized that knew 80 or greater than or equal to 80% of their sounds coming into kindergarten. And then we had 111 students that were at the 80% or higher. So that was a huge piece.
That is huge.
At first grade, plus 29 in early reading. And again, their numbers all increased, which is a huge piece for us. Orton, again, you can see that they're really going well. The one, we did have a small dip in the words, but as they start working through words and spellings, they have to remember all of the, you know, OI makes two sounds in a word and the different processes that they go through. So there was a little bit dip there. And again, A reading in second grade was plus 15. During our intervention time, second grade really focused on the CBMs, which is the fluency at grade level. And the average growth was plus 44, which was a huge piece for them. And obviously, if you go to the last page where we talk about our goals are set high. We could lower those goals, but you know, we want 70% of our students to be in the 75th percentile. They're telling us that if they have a good possibility of passing the MCAs as a third grader, right? That's our goal. And we're starting to see actually the numbers are increasing for over the last 5 years, but obviously they're not anywhere near where we'd like them to be. We're really taking a look at, you know, what is the gap that we're missing somewhere along the line in that test. Not that we want to teach to the Fastbridge test, but we got to look at where are our gaps. We think we figured it out with kindergarten, with some recognition of some words that they need to work on. And same thing for second grade as well. So, you know, notable things, we had huge gains in ROG, continue to look at our reading and math performance, and then just adjust some of those strategies that they're gonna need to take on, in the next couple of years, so. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, if the, you have something here, I can pass a few.
Thank you.
All right, South Point. Well, I just want to start off with a few highlights from this past May that happened at South Point. So I want to give a big shout out to Mr. Moffett. We had our South Point talent show, and it's incredible of what our students can do. It was just really cool. A couple of them brought tears to my eyes. We also want to say thank you to Mr. Nagel and Mr. Moffett. They put together our South Point Field Day, and that was a success. We did that on Wednesday, the second to the last day before school, and it was just, the weather cooperated. It was just beautiful for the kids to be out there, and it worked out well for our fifth graders, because I also want to say thank you to those fifth grade team for that graduation program that they put on. But it allowed the fifth graders to come in, set up for graduation, go through their practice for that graduation. So it all worked out well at South Point. And then just end of the year fun things with field trips and celebrations in the classroom. So I just wanted to start off with that. Then we can start looking at South Point data. So you can see that our reading goal was using the Fastbridge A reading assessment. So a lot of things are very similar to what Chad was talking about, that we do Fastbridge 3 times a year with our students. And we also do OG at the 3rd grade level, as well as with our special education students 3 through 5. And then we have morphology that they're assessed on in 4th and 5th grade 3 times a year. So using that Fastbridge A reading assessment, 65% of our South Point students will meet or exceed their projected end of the year goal by spring 25 using that A reading assessment. Our end of the year results was 62% of our students met or exceeded their projected end of the year goal. So no, we didn't quite make it, but we got very close with that. You'll see I also put in the benchmark score. So in Fastbridge, you can either do the norm, and I put that definition, if you saw that on the next page, just what's the difference when looking at those scores, that the benchmark score is really defining the school or district expectation for that end of the year outcome. And that norm compares our students to any student who were tested within the screening window nationally. And so you can see on that second page for that fast reading, that A reading Fastbridge assessment, I've broke the grades down for each year for both benchmark and their norms. Is there any questions on that before I go into the next one? Something else we put together was a trend. And if you notice for 5th grade, 4th grade, and 3rd grade, it's going back. So as you just take 5th grade, for example, so that's their score, looking at where they're at from their 5th grade year, 4th grade year to 3rd grade year, so that we are looking at the same students from each year. Because at South Point, we get a group that graduates and a group that's coming in. So just comparing of what that looks like. Although those trends are slight, they are going in the right direction. So like Chad said, with having OG, that implementation, it is paying off. It is paying off with us. Something that we are going to be doing very intentional that New Heights did this year, that we are going to be doing next year at South Point, is having our intervention built into our schedule, which is already planned. We're already taking those steps of what that's going to look like at each grade level, how we're going to break that down. So we do have that plan in place. Our literacy team has been doing a fantastic job of getting that organized for the upcoming school year already. So then next we have our math goal. Again, using that A Math Now assessment, having students tested 3 times a year. 55% of South Point students will meet or exceed their projected end of the year goal. And as you can see, we're very close to that with that 54%. And that was using that benchmark score. And if you go down, you can see our norm score average, looking at it nationally, we did dip a little bit there. With that, the plan for next year, we have been approved to have Math IXL. So we do not have that intentional intervention time, but now we are providing another asset for teachers and for our students. The Math IXL will be able to do that diagnostic test, see where students are at, and then hone in so they can meet those holes that they have individually. Okay. If you go on to the next page, then I did the same thing for the math with the benchmark and the norm score, which I'm not sure if your printed version has the norm. If it doesn't, I did print another one, so I can provide that for you tonight. If you go to the next page, you can see that that trend score again is going in the right direction and looking back to where kids are at for each grade level. Is there any questions on the reading or math? Again, we're just, a little under, but like Chad had stated, we've got plans in place and we are really excited. The students coming into us, they will be going into their third year with OG, and that's just crucial. It's huge. We are seeing where our, where those holes are and how we can help meet those kids. What we're really excited as I come back to that intervention piece is that it'll be great for all students at all levels. So whether you're here and have some holes or you're here because you've mastered it, now we can challenge you a little more. So it's going to be really a great implementation that we're going to have next year. The next thing I'd like to talk about with stats or just data is what I just handed you, and that is our wave room. And I just wanted you to be aware of what our wave room is and what that looks like. So you can see reasons for its use there in the middle. So the wave room is a room that we have designated in the school that is a safe place for students. They have to be accompanied by adults. And it's really a chance for them to reset for various reasons. And so whether it's just a short break from class, we have a lot of anxiety or worrying issues for students. A quiet testing space, we used it for MCAs. Sometimes it's a workspace for lunch. When they're eating their lunch, they can still quietly work. We have students that come very late to school. And so having an adult sit with them and eat in that quiet atmosphere in the wave room also helps them to get a good start, a soft start to their day with breakfast. I want to say a huge thank you to Melody Olstead. That's where she works out of, is our wave room at South Point, and she's with us 2 days a week and every other Friday, or excuse me, every other Wednesday is what we did this week, is we shared her with New Heights, and she just has done a phenomenal job. She pushes into our classrooms at that tier 1 level and speaks to our students on that spot of the month, and then talking to them about strategies on how to identify that emotion and what you can do with that emotion. Because we want our students to know that it's okay to experience all the emotions, but then what do you do with those emotions? How do you handle that? And that's really what she has been doing for us at South Point, and we just can't thank her enough. She's met with students. She's hosted friendship groups. That's where you see that lunch, student groups, lunchtime, restorative meetings. That's been a big area that she has really helped with, and really just being a person for some of our students. They just need that person to connect with. And so having her friendly face has just been very supportive. So what you can see, and this is probably not as accurate as we want because it depends on the adult who's checking that student in to remember to write down that they've checked that child in. It's because we just have a paper pencil check in, and then she collects the data and then updates it. So 723 students throughout the year have used it, I should say 723 times, but you can see 137. We do have 2 breakout rooms in that room, and so students have used that as a workspace as well as an alternative from the classroom. So I just wanted you to be aware of those statistics as well. Any questions? Great. Thank you very much. Oh, I do have one more thing.
Mm.
The last thing, when I say thank you, that's what made me say, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to the students and the South Point staff for all of their hard work over this year. It's not been an easy year, transition of new administration, but also throwing that OLA on top of it. So I just want to say a big thank you to the staff. And then I want to say thank you to our families and students of South Point for a great year. Okay. Now I'm also, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Jill.
Middle school update. And I like things to be pretty. And so when I shared with you on Friday, you had the meat and potatoes, but you didn't have it looking very good. So I don't know if the update over the weekend should look a little bit better. So that matters to me and its silliness, but it matters. So I just want to review our building goals. It was actually last year at this time that our teams generated these goals. We do that in May, and then we might shift and shake some things out before the start of the school year. But at the very beginning of the year, we talk about the school-wide goals with our students, and we post them up on our televisions, and every now and again, I'll put something in the announcements about them and asking them to, if it's STAR testing season, hey, best effort, always do your best, show up today, and, effort matters, and so language around that too. So these should be familiar to our students because we talk about them. And I think when we talk about them, then that shows that they matter. So the adults in our wave time too will have had conversations with students about them. We have three of them. We have a reading, we have a math, and then we have a school culture goal. And our school culture goal is focusing on the way that we recognize our students with our students of excellence and our students in good standing. So we have a percentage there. And then our math and reading goal, and we shifted the language a little bit last August when we had our MTSS meeting, and we focused on a percentage with our student growth percentile. So just a reminder for you that an SGP it measures the individual student academic growth over time relative to their academic peers across the nation. It provides insights on how much progress, because that's always the goal, students have made compared to others with similar past academic performance. And then it helps adults, educators, tailor that instruction to meet the students' needs effectively. I will say when I look at kind of the two pieces of our goal is here's the percentage, and then how are we responding? And I would say the percentage you're gonna see, and if you looked at the information, we look good percentage-wise. The next step I feel our team needs to do is to work on what is our response gonna be? What is that plan gonna be for the students that aren't making that mark? So an SGP of 35, which is what our goal is, on STAR testing means that a student has shown more academic growth than 35% of their peers nationwide. A score in this range indicates the student is growing fairly normal pace compared to other students with similar starting points, right? So a high achieving student, a student who is maybe at an average growth rate, we're looking at that kind of across the board. So our goal for math, throughout the year, students will demonstrate a student growth percentile of 35% or greater on the STAR math diagnostic test. Students who are already making progress will continue to show growth, and students not making progress will be monitored. That's the part that is the next step that I think we as a group need to be better and responsive with. And I think the opportunity is there for us because we have the Wednesday early release time and a little bit more freedom with at least the beginning of the year, the READ Act training being less focused at the start of the year, given to what the state is telling us. So then I start to look at the tables and the graphs. We have a winter table, we have a spring table, and then I organized it by math. So you can see, looking at winter, and looking at spring, you can see the students that took the assessments, and we can see that at or above 35 student growth percentage, 78% of our students in sixth grade during the winter session. We did have continued growth, but we didn't have it quite as great in the spring session, and you're going to see that across the board. These assessments would have been taken for some grade levels the very beginning of April, so among the time or around the time that we have our MCA tests, so that might be a bit of an overload. There are some grade levels that waited until after that, but that's also a little bit of a challenging time for assessments too in May. So you'll see that across the board. And we did, as you can see, for sixth grade math, have 22% of our students or 32% who did not make that goal. So that again would be the piece that we would look at future wise. There's 22 students or 32 students. What's going to be our plan to support them to get them to grow at their rate? Seventh grade math, same thing, 75% of students, 25% of students that were below that student growth percentile. And I'm looking specifically at the winter, which does match spring-wise. Same thing for seventh grade math. And eighth grade math did have a nice percentage. 83% of students were at or above, and 17% still need to have some more opportunity for growth. And you'll see that we did have some grade levels that did not have the post-test, so some of the data isn't quite matching. Reading, same thing. Goal says 35% of SGP, making progress toward growth. And if we look at sixth grade, this is where we're going to see that 29% of our sixth graders, 25% of our eighth graders did not do a spring STAR reading. They didn't finish that portion of it. And whether that was for, attendance reasons or I'm guessing that that's likely what the case was. So our sixth grade readers, we had 73% of them at or above, 27% that needs to have some more support. And that was in the winter time. And then again, 77% and then 23. So we see that there was an improvement for sixth grade reading through the course of the year. Seventh grade reading, 76% of students at or above, and 37 students needing to have some plans for support. And our spring, 69%, we did have some students who did not take that post-test as well. Okay. And then eighth grade reading, 65% of our students, and then 49 students below the 35 percentile. Again, 25% of our eighth graders did not do a spring test in reading. And so then when we had these results, we shared them with students, because if we're talking about sharing goals, then we have to share what the results are too. So we put together the graphic of meeting and exceeding our goals, 35% or greater, and then we had some announcements that supported this too. So then again, notes of importance that growth was up from fall to winter, or from fall to spring, but not as strong of a rate as it was from fall to winter. So that was our sweet spot for learning and for making growth from fall to winter versus that springtime. So that may mean that in the future, adjusting when we take the FastBridge test or pulling the data. Typically, teachers give it every single quarter. It's not required, but we do it 3 times. Most of them do it for 4 of the quarters, but maybe it's looking at the data ahead of the MCAs, because they really are doing a push on the academics or the reading and math skills during that time. And then our school culture goal. We, as a school culture team, last year wanted to focus on our students in good standing and our students of excellent recognition. And we looked at the data from last year and thought 65% was going to be our goal. And this is where I did some of the updating. But I have a table that lists out by each quarter the percentage of students at each across the grades, 459 students, and then the percentage of students. So first quarter, we had 72% of students reach that goal, 60% in second quarter, 54% in the third quarter. And then we did, because we recognize students before the end of the school year and celebrate them, we communicated an early cutoff. And so May 16th was when we did that. We let students know that ahead of time. And so 50% of students earned one of those recognitions in fourth quarter. At the end of the year, I did an official, and that upped the percentage a little bit, so that it's 56%. That was cut off on May 29th. Our goal was 65% of students, and 2 ways to look at it. If we cut it off on May 16th, where we officially ended it, we did not make the goal. We're at 57%. If we cut it off at the end of the year, again, we did not make the goal, but the percentage was a stronger percentage. Okay. And then in looking at all of these pieces, attendance was not the variable, but it was a variable that affected the student's ability to earn the recognition. And again, we recognize that attendance is sometimes in the control of students and families, but we also know too that life happens, sickness happens, and that does impact this piece of it too. But it is a motivator for students. They are very excited to get a certificate and a letter and the message home. And, you know, there's a treat that goes along with it too. And in fourth quarter, we spend a lot of time celebrating kids for the efforts and the choices that they make that are positive. And when we say things about we expect you to show up and this is what the expectations are, we know that students do work to reach them. So we didn't hit the mark exactly with this percentage. My culture club is going to meet next Thursday and we're going to review this data along with some other information related to our Panorama Spring SEL survey, and they will build a goal that's around this too. And then for next year as well, the math department and the reading department met, reviewed this data, did some reflection, and they have a draft of reading and a math goal for next year as well too. So, questions on the CMS building goals? Okay, then I'm just gonna say very deep thanks and appreciation for trusting the work that we've been doing at CMS. And I hope through the course of 4 years, you can say things got a little bit better, things got a little bit different, and there were some changes that helped both the students and the staff. And it's been a joy. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for attending graduation, obviously. I know that almost seems like it's an expectation, and I think it should be an expectation, but I don't even think twice about you guys. Tell you month or two in advance graduation is here, and I just know that you'll show up. So I appreciate that out of you guys. So it's a big deal for the graduates and big deal for all of the people at senior high and in general in East Grand Forks. So we did graduate 115 kids, which is pretty low, but we have 149 next year or so and 175 the year after that. So, and I will be diligently looking for a venue. Like I said, I haven't found one yet, but either going to be the Betty Egglested or the Chester Fritz. So depending on what that is, we can't use the Civic Center because of the renovations that they're doing. So
Years or 1 year, Brian?
just 1 year. What's that?
Just 1 year?
1 year. 1 year for sure. Yep. Yep, and they did say maybe the next year too. I don't know what that looks like, what they're doing, but maybe we'll find out that that's a good place to be where we go. I don't know. We'll see. Obviously, we've had some good luck in weather. Last year's or this year's weather was very good, but we've had very hot, we've had cold, we've had rain, we've had all the number of different things. So that would be the one positive about it. But yeah. Anyway, so that's good. As far as athletics, we don't know. Somebody must know we play, but we play sometime tomorrow at noon. For baseball, I believe there's either 3 or 4 teams left. We're in the wrestlebacks, I call them. We'd lost earlier last week, so they're still in it. Track, we have the 10 athletes that are going. They broke a school record in the 4x4 relay by 3 seconds. They beat that, so that was awesome. Boys golf, it's a 2-day tournament. They played today, they play tomorrow. They have to be top 6 as a team, and they were 3, so they move on. The good news is they shot a 320 and they're 3rd out of 6. 320 is an 80 average for you non-math people. But the bad news is Detroit Lakes is also in our section and they have a 297, so they're 23 strokes ahead of us. They are and always have been a powerhouse in golf, and so they're very good. Their 2 best players are freshmen, by the way. Girls golf is currently in a rain delay in Bemidji, so they are 2 strokes out of 6th place right now. So they have to get after it, and if they can't play today, they got to play tomorrow. So finish up, and then they would hopefully get top 6 and go from there. So, yeah, so we're winding down all of that stuff. But state track is, I believe, next Wednesday is when they have state track. So Anyway, other couple of things, as of right now, knock on wood, I'm fully staffed. I got nobody that's leaving. Nobody says they're leaving, but obviously got 3 months that things can change. So I'm fully staffed there. Summer school, we have summer school for our, basically a credit recovery where kids, if they have at least 40% in the class and not to 59 to get the pass, we let them have a 24-hour little mini session of things they might have missed, which changes their grades from a grade from an F to a D minus. Right? That's as high as they can. We've tried getting them to come back for 40, 50, 60 hours and retake the whole class, and that's impossible. So they don't come for that. But we will have world history being taught, intermediate algebra, geometry, English 9 and English 10. So those will be starting tomorrow for 8 days, 3 hours a day. So, and then they, like I said, they get their credit to get to a D minus, and for a lot of them, that's what they care about, get their credit, right? So, as far as goals are concerned, goals at the high school in my tenure, even high school wise, all the way around, I feel like building goals are hard in high school wise, just because there's a lot of things, a lot of inconsistencies and different things. We don't have MCAs for every grade. We don't have, this is the first year we've had something for everybody to do or to take that with the STAR test. It's the first time we've ever had it. So, that's been hard, and setting, like I said, setting a building-wide goal that is applicable to everybody, in my opinion, is hard. Not that we couldn't do it, but it's just been hard. So, first year doing STAR testing, we did it fall, we did it winter, we did it spring. We set our goal to be 70% or higher. We had 37%. We wanted to raise that to 45 in the reading category. We went from 37 to 41. So didn't meet that goal. The math, our goal was from 53, we wanted to go to 60. We went from 53, which actually went backwards from the spring. But the only thing, the caveat I would say is that we focused 99.5% of our efforts on reading rather than math, because we do interventions, not very long. To be a true intervention should be 30 minutes per day, 4 days a week, probably 3 to 5 days a week. We got 1 day, 20 minutes. That was built into our schedule, so that's not going to get a lot of things accomplished. We need to tweak our intervention time a little bit for next year, and which we will, but I don't know what that looks like quite yet. So that's my job in the next couple of weeks to try and get that figured out, what that looks like with our schedule. But with the ins and outs and in a true intervention for high school wise, they're in for a little bit, then they're out for a little bit, maybe back in, and whatever, all the things. But where do you put them if they're taking another class, right? Where do they, if they're taking a fax class or some sort of whatever it is, if they get pulled out for intervention and then they miss 3 weeks of fax, now what do they do? So that's the things we got to figure out. So, we will, but, so there you go. That's all I have on that. But any questions other than that?
Any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I believe girls relay also broke a school record last week too, on Saturday. A girls relay also broke a school record on Saturday, 4x1.
Couple school records.
Yeah.
All right. I know you already talked about negotiations committee, but did you have any other committee reports?
Not at this
Okay.
point. No.
All right, 6.0 is we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Oh, just keep my grievance committee. I just don't want to
Yeah.
be the only person tomorrow. Remember?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
You're going.
Yes.
Sorry.
Oh.
No.
I was like, hang on, I don't think I'm on that.
No, it's Josh alone.
Okay, 6.0 consent agenda. I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Questions or discussions on the consent agenda? All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Any citizens wanting to speak? Okay. 8.0 is district business. A lot of this is really just district business. So 8.1 is approving the 2025-2026 resolution for membership in the Minnesota State High School League. Period. As presented and attached in board book. Take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
One second.
Any questions or discussion on our membership in the Minnesota State High School League? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 8.2 is a motion to authorize administration to advertise for milk, bread, and fuel bids for the 2025-2026 school year with bids due at 1 PM, June 30th, 2025, as presented and attached.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussions on posting for bids? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 8.3 is to accept donations to the school district.
I'll make a motion to accept the following donation to the school district. A donation from Rydell Auto to CMS for Outsiders Day in the amount of $220.
Any seconds?
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions or discussion on the donation? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 8.4 is to approve the purchase of a 2025 Jeep Wagoneer as presented and attached in board book. I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion?
Just a couple comments, just so everyone's aware. This is the same, it's comparable to a Suburban. It came in cheaper. We went out for quotes or whatever, got Chevy, there were multiple. And so it surprised me that a Jeep
Yeah.
came in, I'm just being honest, but got nothing against, you know, so if, and again, I'm just throwing it out there because typically a Chevy or a Ford are the two that kind of the plain, I don't want to say plain Jane, but they're all fancy nowadays. But just so you're aware, that's where it came from. There was one that even threw a Denali in and I'm like, no, but it was a holdover a year. And so they're trying to get rid, well, you lose a year,
Yeah.
you know, and so it's like, but it was still more expensive than the, you know, and I'm like,
But it's got heated and cooled seats. Yeah, all those in favor of approving the purchase of a 2025 Jeep Wagoneer, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 8.4 or 8.5 is to approve property and casualty insurance renewal from Marsh McLennan Agency. So it's a motion to approve the 2025-2026 property liability and workers' comp insurance proposal as presented and attached in board book.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Any seconds?
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion?
just a couple comments. The Marsh McLennan, which helps, I think did a good job. You'll notice it's actually a little bit cheaper, but there is a little bit of caveat and it's not them necessarily changing, but the deductible is going up and it's a, help me out, what's the right, it's a way of the, way they're all going. And so, I mean, it's a piece that is out there. And so it's something we're gonna look at, but right now we don't have another option. I mean, it's $25,000 deductible, compared to, I think, 5 before, you know, so, the other thing that's going on is there's roof, a lot of them are going to a 1 or 2% where you pay before your insurance kicks in. We're not there yet, but several of the, if you want to say vendors, have already went to that. So we're looking, the other thing, they're coming back, we're having them look another go around at, are we, how do you want to say it? Completely covered enough with our high limit, and just, it's, every once in a while, it's not bad to look at. Obviously, it'll cost, you know, for instance, what was 134 million, I think, is our total coverage, which is a lot. But I throw out the question, what happens, something happened between New Heights and here? Like just say a tornado and completely destroyed 2 buildings. Probably not unless a flood or something, you know, all the buildings. But we're just, it was worth a question, is that enough? And so they're gonna keep looking and come back. Like I say, if we increase it, it's gonna cost more money, but I also want the board aware, you know, are we where we should be over time, or, you know, cause again, 100 million's a lot of money, but it's not unheard of now when you build a new school to be a 80 million, 100 million, whatever. So, definitely recommend we move forward, but they're also gonna work with us to kind of re-examine and see if we're where they think we should be. And it's got cyber and all the other stuff that it needs in there. Did I miss anything, Carla? Okay.
All right, all those in favor of approving the insurance renewal, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 8.6 is a discussion and possible action on a facility assessment firm selection, ICS and Nexus, which gave our presentations to the board last meeting, 5/12/25. So let's start discussion.
So, yeah. First of all, I would start by thanking Nexus and ICS. I think both of them, did a nice presentation roughly, well, last meeting, whether it was 3 weeks ago or whatever. Again, I'm gonna say kind of what I've stated in the past. I've worked with both companies and both companies are good. ICS with a special ed project that took, I'm just guessing 4 or 5 years. It was a long going, getting funding and working, finding facilities. It's a group on the other side of the state, yet, a different office. But again, the company's well respected, done a lot of work. Nexus, the same thing. I'm not, statewide. They've done a lot in the cities area, Wisconsin, worked with them in I Falls, and for the most part, what you saw, they upheld their deal, and they're still working there. You can talk. I've talked with several people that have worked with both in different places. Got good things to say. Now, I'm sure you can find someone, and I mentioned to Matt earlier, you can find someone that's had some struggles. I hate saying anyone in business, but again, so it's hard. Like you say, it's what do you think? And we haven't had any conversation. It's not quite as easy as the Jeep recommendation, which one, they meet all our needs. The colors are fine. They got the option. It's just not. So part of it has to be which one, do you think fit? Yeah, and would be both are going to be good. Yeah, cost wise, I think long term they're going to come out very similar. One has a little upfront cost, the other one, again, they got to both make money, to stay in business. That's the way it goes. So
I've reached out to, references for both companies. Everybody had great things to say about both of them. And I feel 100% confident in hiring either of them. I think they're both great companies. They've done a lot of good work. Everybody that I've talked to had great things to say about them. Nexus had a few ideas that were a little bit of out of the box thinking, that I haven't heard before. I'm leaning towards them because of that. If it were me building a house, I would say, let's go with somebody local. In this case, let's do what's best for this school district. And I think that would be, going with Nexus. So that's how I feel.
I agree. I don't even know if I have anything else to add because, they brought some things to the table that I like that they wanted to reuse the things that we already had rather than just build. Not that build is out of the question, but I agree with the out of the box thinking and I appreciated their presentation and going to the schools and talking to people and getting some assessment there. I think ICS would do fine as well, but I just appreciated the thinking of Nexus a little better.
Yeah, and I appreciated the preparation that they put into it. I like their ideas more so.
The big one for me was the reinventing the spaces that we already have. Because that's really going to save us money and save the community and save everybody money. And I think that you can get a little bit, knock on wood, maybe a little bit more of a buy-in when, hey, we're not necessarily building, we're reusing the space that we already have. And I think that they did a really nice job of showing us how they can use the space that we have.
And I think long-term and I'm not going to speak for Rob Nexus, whether, the whole preschool idea can get done in one building or not. I don't know if they went that far. They talked about some spaces of reconfig and obviously that's great, but I just want to, special ed, there's needs. Yeah, they had some, but I mean, unless I missed it, I don't think, I just want, there could still be, a need. We'll see where the facility goes, or maybe it's split between two buildings, but whatever, but.
And I guess the other part that they had a 10-year plan, right? Like if this is what you guys need as your community, here's the 10 probably biggest needs that you have. Let's get there. And this is how we have to get there.
They brought up those.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
picture.
Yeah.
it.
They big
Picture
pictured where we might be.
The preschool is
Right.
about the other needs that we have, so that was nice to hear, I thought. I'm in agreement with everyone else, what everyone else has said.
Any
Yeah,
thoughts?
no, I initially liked Nexus the best. Their presentations were so different.
Yes.
And I think ICS would probably do what Nexus is doing, had we, you know, like, if that was part, I don't know, what, their presentation was focused more on the referendum piece. Nexus was focused more on using what we have, so it's kind of comparing two very different approaches to our needs.
The request was the same to both of them, right? Like when we asked
Yeah.
I was
for.
just gonna ask. that.
Yeah, no, it was laid out the same. I mean, you know, when Nexus requested to come speak to, you know, some of the staff, I didn't, you know, then reach out to ICS and go, do you want to come speak? You know, that was their ask. And so, I mean, it would have been open. It was just like when we originally, where this first started, you know, months before when we thought we were going to get a grant, you know, the RFP was put out. Nexus was the only one that came and actually toured the buildings with Ron. I walked around as well. Now, I'm not gonna say that's bad. ICS knows the buildings a little more because they've helped with our current 10-year plan. So I mean, but like Carl Sanderson didn't come, you know, and again, I understand you can probably say it's $4 a square foot or three, but I guess I still think it's worth the investment if I was bidding something at your school to come, let's go look at it. Where the two, Carl Sanderson and Inbuilt or what didn't. And so like I say, I mean, from that point, and again, Nexus originally didn't get in on that because they got their stuff in late, but again, that went to the wayside. So, again, I got nothing bad about either. Yeah, you know, and I don't disagree. I mean, ICS has worked with numerous to get referendums passed, you know, and so, like I say, it really comes, which one, I don't know if it, you know, rubs you the right way type deal. It's a relationship, yeah, you know, and each had, yeah, the same opportunity to come and present and they took a little different, you know,
They did.
shakes at it, but, and again, I'm sure we'll possibly work with both, you know, down there. I mean, no doors are closed, you know, but, unfortunately, we do have to make a selection unless you want two of the same thing done and, you know, which you don't do.
Are we ready to make a selection then? They would be doing a facility assessment. This is what we're.
Correct, and where it leads from there is up to, you know, to see.
I just wanted to be clear, that's all we're voting on.
It's all we're voting for is a
Facility assessment firm selection,
So
so.
someone has to make a motion and that's why we put it that way of a certain group and we'll get the contract in place and go from there.
I'll make a motion to approve Nexus as the firm that will be doing the facility assessment for ISD 595.
I'll second.
Any more questions or discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. 9.0 is payment of claims and accounts.
I'll make motion to approve the payment of K-12 bills 129464 through 129603 and the electronic fund transfers in the amount of $1,554,393.74.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor of paying the bills, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 10.0 are board member comments. Amanda, I'll start with you tonight.
I just want to say thank you to all the staff for an amazing school year. And I hope everyone has an enjoyable summer without smoke in the air.
Stop it, Canada.
That's all I got though.
I have nothing tonight.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. It was a great school year, great graduation. Thank you, Jill, for everything. That's all I've got.
Just a big thank you to all the staff. I mean, it takes a long, you know, community to get through what we're getting through, and there's a lot of ups and downs in the school year and a lot of things that happen. But I just thank you for everybody that is a part of it and making sure that we're growing lifelong learners in these Grand Forks.
Lindsay?
Nothing to add, just thanks to everybody.
I agree. Just thanks to all the staff, making the schools run smoothly for the kiddos. It's the most important part. Thank you, Jill. Can't even look at you. And for sad reasons, not because I'm disgusted. All right, the next Board of Education meeting will be June 26th, 5:30 PM. So
I'll make a move to adjourn.
to adjourn. Yeah, thanks.
Second.
Any questions or discussion on adjourning? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, everybody.
I didn't cut you off, did I?